Hey guys, this is Matthew, and this is Project X, and I wanted to give you guys an opportunity here at the end of the course to have a little bit of fun and kind of flex your muscles and the skill sets that you've been developing to apply it towards something a little bit more substantial beyond just simply creating a CV or a resume or, we've been playing around with divs, which are very, very important here at the end of this semester of the course. But I think it's important that you guys sort of have a better sense as to how web design works these days. And this is an introductory HTML CSS markup course where really like you learn how to code and you learn how to recognize what tags are and what they mean and what they can render for the screen. And it's kind of like an older way, frankly, of interpreting web design, but it's also still very, very relevant. So these days, the way web design typically operates is often, I'm sure everyone has heard of things like WordPress, which is a CMS, and a CMS is an acronym for a content management system. So it basically makes it easier to update a site. There are also subscription services like Squarespace. Um, on Squarespace or on any CMS, you have these interfaces that allow you to go in and sort of modify the look of a website visually. So there are these what you see is what you get editors where you can go in and drag things around and arrange things. And so that's like the Squarespace method. But of course, they're monetizing web design. But if you're DIY or if you're an artist and you want to have better control over your project or you want a particular look or you might want to just have a more hands-on approach, that's where like really knowing HTML and CSS can definitely be handy. And even when you're looking at those what you see is what you get editors, within like like future Squarespace or CMS WordPress applications, you have the option to look at the code and really see what's going on. And so, you guys have like basically what I feel like I've given you in this course is, sometimes folks don't always exactly know how to, like if your car breaks down on the side of the road and you lift the hood and you're not exactly like your car usually just turns on and works, but maybe something goes wrong and you don't really understand your engine or how your car operates. And so if you open up the hood, it can be very, very confusing. Well, what I feel like I've done for you all in this course is that when you open up the hood of a website, you're going to have a little bit better sort of context as to how everything is operating. And I think that's a really good foundation for future web development. And obviously, like if you've really been enjoying what we've been doing in this course, then I would certainly suggest that you take more computer science or web development courses, or maybe find there are plenty of resources on YouTube. One of the beauties I think of web design is it doesn't necessarily require a degree. I know that kind of sounds counterintuitive because I'm involved with education, but you can actually just have the skills and have a portfolio and you can tell a future client, hey, I've worked with these past clients who have been satisfied with my work, and then you can tell them how much you want to be paid. And if they decide to pay you, they do. And so, it's really kind of like a liberating thing that I think a lot of folks have explored in the past, but of course, it's also one of those industries that is constantly changing. The big thing that is really happening these days with the industry, with like web development and even graphic design, is AI or artificial intelligence. And so, back in the day, I think, you could you could easily find these entry-level jobs as like a junior developer or coder or web intern. and you could sort of learn from someone who has more experience. So like there was a lot of on the job learning and like getting better. And these days, the way web developers or more like mid-level or senior web developers are working is they have, truthfully, they have chat AI robots that are doing some of the like the coding actually for them. And so I think that that's something that I want to mention to you guys also because I don't want, if you're serious about web design, you just, A, you need to know about it. And B, you hopefully won't be so afraid of it because you do need just the same way that you've immersed yourself in this course and this very new thing. I mean, you guys have done fantastic work here. I mean, this is not easy stuff. I mean, it's easy, but it's also a little bit intimidating. And I think that everyone in this class has just done such a great job just testing the waters and realizing, hey, I can do this. And similarly, I think that everyone should be doing that with artificial intelligence and resources because, technology is going to play a role in how design and art and all of these things evolve as we're going down the road. So please don't be afraid of these things and work with it and just do the best you can, okay? So so that's kind of like in my kind of like an end of course slash semester spiel, like A, me being really proud of you and you've done some great work. And I want you guys to have an opportunity to flex, okay? And sort of like, do something beyond the CV or resume. Where I want to start is I want to show you guys, I mean, the way that like you can even see this is like in my Bollinger design folder and it says 2012 here. And I have all these websites, that I was building for people, including myself, just to kind of get started. Like I was curious about HTML. I had pretty much done the same thing that you guys are doing, where I'd learned some basics, and then I thought, well, I need to start building some websites. And let's see, I built a website for an artist named Kelsey Siggins. I'm sure she's moved on and is using a different website at this point, but these are all of my assets and everything that I was using. So, and here's a folder called load. So I'm guessing this is the one that I loaded to the server. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, and here's the index file. So that's the home base. And notice how I have all of these other HTML files for different things that maybe she had told me that she wanted because she's an artist and she wanted a contact page. She wanted a page for her CV. She wanted a page for like a few like, like projects that she had completed. And then there's a folder for images that have been modified and they're the correct pixel dimensions so that they will fit, etc., etc. I sort of created an HTML template for myself for my own website and then I started basically using that to I would change the content and I would change the words and I would sell a website for like really not even a whole lot of money for like $250. And at the time, like I just kind of thought that was, a good amount of money. And it still is. I mean, if I've already done the work and I can just kind of swap out some content or images and I can sell it to someone, then sure, I'm gonna do that. So I ended up doing that for a few artists and like, clients. So I wanted to show you guys. So right click the index file, open with Google Chrome. And I think, and this was made over 10 years ago, and this is all pure HTML. Okay. It's not responsive to things like, you guys in 2012, of course, they did have cell phones and, things were moving along, but this is not a responsive website. This is just a desktop website. So you can see if I squinch things down, you're not gonna, it's not gonna be a good modern fit for people looking at a website on a phone or an iPad these days. But I wanted to like really what I wanted to do here is just kind of show you my journey, like exploring all this stuff. So you can type on Kelsey Siggins up here, check that out, and it's responsive, it changes. You can click on art and it'll go to like these different installations that she did, and then she has a CV, you know, which is really, really simple and beautiful. And I guess she had a blog, I'm guessing. Wow, I guess her blog is still up. That's kind of fun. So looks like she hasn't really done much to it, but it's there and it's still linking up. Then she had some other links here. Maybe this is going to like a YouTube video. There we go. Cool. So she was using digital like technology to put some things together and then she made it. It's actually really, that's pretty cool. Wow. So, and then there's a contact page. And this is actually a practice I would not advise these days, putting your email on a website because spiders and spam folks are crawling websites for emails so that you can get, things that you don't want in your email box. And then at the bottom, I had a copyright, for Kelsey Siggins. And I also had, at some point, I was really trying to develop like, a design agency. And so I had bought or purchased a URL for Bollinger Design. My goals have since then changed a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys I was dreaming about some kind of the future and how I could pay bills and do things. So that's Kelsey Siggins and the website that I made for her. And that was in 2012, and this is pure HTML. And if I go back to my Finder window, and this is the website right here, and if I right click open with Phoenix Code, you're going to recognize a lot of this same information that you guys have been working with. So like, um, I have this is all. Hold on, let's back up a second. So here's the opening HTML tag and the closing HTML tag and the closing body and the footer is down here. And then here's the body. Okay, and then the body kind of has this layout, and I'm using IDs and classes for CSS. So like you guys have kind of done a lot of this, like, changing the background color and all of it is here's where I'm doing like the hover, okay, with the text coloration. All right. Um, so this is pretty much what we've covered in this class. Like it's basic, essential HTML and CSS, okay? So, and that's just the index page. But, I wanted, like, when you're working on an old website like this, all these corresponding pages have to have a similar layout so that, and then you just kind of switch out some text. And so the user doesn't know it, but they're not like if they're navigating to a different HTML page, it just looks really, really similar, except some text has been changed to indicate like that you're in a different place on the site or architectural map, right? And so it's like this real clever, like magic trick Harry Houdini thing where we're just kind of like changing like these different HTML pages with slightly different content, but it has like a similar um, layout, if not almost exactly the same. Because if the layout were changing on all these pages, then obviously it wouldn't be a very good magic trick, right? So, but I just want to, here's the one for the CV. So let's open that up in Phoenix Code. So I can open up all these pages separately and they all pretty much look very, very similar. Okay. Um, the thing that changes is the content in the body, where I have to go in and like, just kind of delete some things and add some things, but the footer remains the same, the menu remains the same, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that's one website that I made back in 2012. It's kind of nice to look at that. I haven't seen it in a while. So I'm going to close that out. I'm going to close this stuff out because I don't think we need it. And now I'm going to go over to there's another website that I made back in the day that I just kind of had a lot of fun doing. And it was for a barbecue company in Albuquerque. Like this girl, I don't know, somehow I mentioned to her that I was making websites when I was going to architecture school. And so her and her husband were working on this barbecue business. And um, so I made this fun little website for them. So first, let's look at it in Google Chrome. So check this out. And of course, I made the graphics in like Adobe Illustrator, and here's the logo up here with this like, pig with wings. Really simple, just kind of has an about page, has a fun little gallery. And I think for this website, I made this really cool, or I didn't make it, I actually found it. You find things online and then you figure out how to drop them into your website. I didn't make, I mean, I just switched out the images and did some modification, but I didn't make this by hand. I found it. Okay. So I could use it on my website. And that's pretty much what with this last project, that's what I'm trying to show you guys is that, work smarter, not harder. Don't make things from the ground up because that's really intimidating and that might be a little bit too much right now. So rather find resources that you can plug into your website and tinker with and play and learn from. Okay? That's how you do this. So I even made them like this fun little um, inquiry that would forward things to their email if someone was interested in them doing barbecue for an event. I think that's kind of fun too. Like, if you click on the home, this sort of like comes in slowly, like this logo right here. Yeah. So that is the Dudley's Barbecue site that I made. And again, it's pure HTML. All right. So if I come over here to, where's my index? Right here, right click, open with. So instead of opening with Chrome, I'm going to open this with Phoenix Code. And it's going to show something, maybe something kind of similar. Oops, it's down here. There we go. Yeah. So here's my navigation menu. Here is my header logo that is floating left. Here is my div for the header or the space. So you guys, like, it's kind of fun. You can go and you can sort of see how I'm structuring things. And now that you guys are familiar with code a little bit, you can look at this stuff and you can say, oh, I get it. Here's the head portion of the page. And I want to point out, look at all this metadata information um, for various things. Like, if you want Google to follow your website, if you want to add some tags, et cetera, et cetera. So, this is all kind of fun stuff to eventually like dip your feet into if you haven't already. So those are two old websites that I made with all of the skills that you guys have learned in this class, okay? And so I want to also remind you that HTML and HTML and CSS are still very, very, very much a part of the World Wide Web. Just the way that it's happening is different, okay? And you guys now have this really great um, foundational sort of intuitiveness when you're looking at code so that you can kind of see things. Almost kind of like Neo in the Matrix. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that movie, but I like it when Neo is looking at the world and he can see all the green code kind of falling down. And so that's kind of how, in a way, that's how I feel like I prepare you guys for future web development. Now you guys can see things in a different way, kind of like Neo. Okay. So the way that this is going to work as we move on is we're actually, instead of like I was building my own templates and like because I was exploring HTML and trying to learn more about it. But these days you can find 100% free, even 100% HTML5 and CSS3 websites. And so this is a really good resource that I found. It's called html5up.net. I've given you guys the link if you want to come over here and play. But look at all these that you can download absolutely for free. Okay. This is all 100% Creative Commons open source free. And so if you wanted to create a website for yourself, then you would come in here and you would maybe demo one of these and you can kind of see how they look and how they might be a good fit for what you're going to be doing for your project. And we're going to be modifying one of these, okay? Just with a few simple beginning things to close out the course, okay? And so I'll close out this video and then we'll get started with working with some images, I think, next. And the one that we're going to be working with, let me see if I can find it. I think it's really good. Just the one I liked was, I believe it was Photon. Oh, no, 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 excuse me. Phantom. I think this one Phantom will work out really well. And also notice how there's a desktop version, there's a mobile device version, like an iPad, and then there's also an Android or an iPhone version. So these are responsive websites as well. And all of the HTML5 and CSS coding has been done for you. And now that you know how to open up the hood of a car, you can go in there and you can see and you can understand and you can tinker. So that's that you guys are now empowered to do what you need to do to make your own website. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this last Project X is I would love for each of you to try it, but it's not required. Okay. And so projects 1 through 8, obviously I want you guys to do those projects, do the quizzes, do the readings, do all that stuff. But this last step, um, it's not required. And and I say that because I mean it's really not required to take this course. You guys took this course because you wanted to learn HTML. So this is also kind of a test. Like, are you really ready to take that additional step with web design and not do this for really anyone except for yourself, okay? And your own future and your own career. Because that's really what I love to instigate in my courses is this idea of self-empowerment and really taking your future by the bullhorns, okay? And doing what you need to do. So I hope you guys take up the challenge to do a few basic things and make some changes to the template. I'll see you on the other side. Thank you. Bye-bye.